Hi everyone. So exciting times. We're starting a new unit in Benchmark, Unit 9, Spending Time and Money. So hopefully you've already gotten your booklet and your packet from Google Classroom and have put it into Notability like we typically would in school. So if you look at the text cover, Spending Time and Money, I see this man who appears to be a grocery store worker unloading some produce. So I'm curious what this unit is going to be all about. I have shared with you the video, the intro video that we typically watch. So hopefully you've watched that and maybe you have some questions answered or some questions yourself about what we'll be learning about in this unit. If you look here, you can see our essential question, which is, what do our economic choices tell us about ourselves? And hopefully you recall back from social studies, economy means money and things that are sold or things that are purchased. So I'm also seeing the word choices here, and I'm thinking what we choose to sell, what we choose to buy. I'm curious if that's going to play a part in our stories. If we look at these pictures, it's all about choice. I see in this picture, they're like at a fruit stand or a marketplace on the street where they have different booths or vendors selling things. Over here, this mom and son are choosing produce or lettuce from the refrigeration section at the grocery store. And then over here in this third picture, it appears it's still a street market of such. It looks maybe from a different culture, lots of different fruits and fresh vegetables. So people are getting to choose what they buy, and then those sellers are also getting to choose what they sell. So let's move on. So today we're going to read Making Choices. Like we typically do, I want us just to take kind of a picture walk and see what we notice about this story. All right, so I see my title here is Making Choices. I also see here that we've got our italics, which we know is an introduction. So that's going to probably be something I'm going to want to pay attention to. I'm also noticing that I've got Ben Franklin's 2 cents. And when I'm looking at this, that doesn't look like a story so much as it just looks like phrases or some examples. And then if I look over here, I've got a different story, The Ants and the Grasshopper by Aesop, and that was kind of Aesop Fables, which we had a couple units ago. And if I also pay attention to my genre section up there, it does say informational social studies, which I'm going to guess is the Ben Franklin, and then The Ants and the Grasshopper would be my fable. So now I'm curious, like we're reading 2 stories that are of 2 different genres. I can also see that this is more of an illustration, and over here, this is realistic with the pennies. So I'm curious. So I'm going to read, and you can follow along. And of course, I'm wanting you to annotate. There is a doc in the link to this slideshow of annotation ideas if you're looking to do that. I also am just going to probably annotate myself. So if you want to borrow some of my thoughts or ideas as we go, I'm totally fine with that as well, as long as you're annotating and not having blank screens, because at the end of this I would like you to screenshot your benchmark page here so I can see what your annotations look like. So here we go. Making choices. Economics is the study of how people choose to use resources. These resources may be raw materials, land, or tools. They also include the time and talent needed to make goods and services or products. How much should a person work, spend, or save? Through the ages, many people have offered advice to help others make good economic choices. All right, so right off the bat, the introduction gave me quite a few pieces of information. So, for example, resources was a big word. The resources may be raw materials, land, or tools. And then it said they also include the time and talent needed to make goods and services or products. And then here's where I really saw choice come into play. How much should a person work, spend, or save? Through the ages, many people have offered advice to help others make good economic choices. So how much time should I spend working? How much money should I spend on these new shoes? Or how much money do I need to save to be able to go on vacation? So there are choices all the times, I guess, now that I'm stopping and thinking about it, about what you spend and what you save and how you work for those things. How hard do you want to work to get that new TV or that new book or that new skateboard, whatever the case may be? Great questions to think about. All right, so let's read this section. Ben Franklin's 2 cents. Now I'm wondering if you're noticing that 2 cents is in quotation marks. This is kind of like a saying or a phrase, kind of non-literal language, because let's read and then I'll talk further about it. Benjamin Franklin was one of the founders of the United States. He was a scientist, inventor, and leader. He was also a writer and printer. Between 1732 and 1758, he published an annual or yearly book. Poor Richard's Almanac included stories, useful information about the weather, and valuable household tips. It also included many proverbs or timeless sayings about work and money. Okay, so I highlighted annual or yearly book because here are some context clues. I need to make this smaller. So context clues, because my comma is kind of my signal word. Annual, comma, or yearly book. So if something comes out annually, it comes out once a year. So for example, we have our annual field day picnic in June, the day before school gets out. So that happens once a year. And then down here, many proverbs or timeless sayings. So there again, we've got that comma and then the signal word or. So timeless sayings, these are those phrases, like I'll give you my 2 cents. So here's some examples, and if we noticed, this isn't a story, these are just phrases, and these are all the examples of the well, not all the examples, but the examples that they are listing in this story. Proverbs or timeless sayings. Waste neither time nor money, but make the best use of both. So in my opinion, this is just like use your time wisely. Or money. If a man empties his purse into his head, no one can take it away from him. Well, that one sounds kind of bizarre when you read it, but if you think about a purse is usually holding valuable things for a woman, and they've got lots of money or their wallet, important information. So if you empty those valuables into your head, no one can take it away from him. So I'm hoping that maybe you're thinking that this is knowledge. Nobody can take away knowledge from you once it's in your head. Number 3, the way to wealth depends on just 2 words: frugality and industry. Okay, the word frugal means that you're very cautious in how you spend your time or your money. Like you don't get the best of everything. You just get just what you need. And industry. So the way to wealth depends on just 2 words: frugality and industry. So the industry, I believe, would be about like the options that you have available to you, like what's being made in the industry, like what is able to be produced. Number 4, early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. So you go to bed early, you wake up early, you're going to have good health, you're going to be able to work hard, and you're going to be able to get lots of knowledge and become wise. And a penny saved is a penny earned. So if you choose to save your money, and don't spend it, then you've actually just earned it. You've earned it back. You haven't lost anything. So those are just ways to say different expressions. And these all tend to be about money. All right, so the ant and the grasshopper. So I'm moving over. Now we're putting our mind into fable mode. Again, I see that I've got an introduction here. Again, it's in italics. Aesop was a storyteller in ancient Greece. He lived in the 6th century BCE. He told many fables. Fables often have a moral or a lesson. I'm hoping that rings a bell for you, and that is an idiom, because I'm hoping that means you remember it. A moral tells people how to behave or act. His fable, The Ants and the Grasshopper, is about the rewards of hard work. One bright day in late autumn, a family of ants was working hard in the sunshine. They were drying out the grain they had stored up during the summer. A very hungry grasshopper, his fiddle under his arm, came up to them. He begged for a bite to eat. "What?" cried the ants in surprise. "Haven't you stored anything away for the winter? What in the world were you doing all last summer?" "I didn't have any time to store up any food," whined Grasshopper. "Every morning I napped in the sun. Every afternoon I played music on my fiddle. And every evening I danced until very late. Before I knew it, summer was gone." The ants shrugged their shoulders in disgust. They turned their backs on the grasshopper and went on with their work. Moral: in times of plenty, it is best to prepare for times of necessity. Meaning, in times when there is an abundance or a lot of something, it is best to prepare. So, for example, if you have a lot of food available to you and you know that you're probably going to need that, you should stock up so you have it when it would be necessary that you have that food in case you're unable to get it. It's kind of similar to what's going on with COVID-19 right now. Everybody's at home needing a lot more supplies than they typically did. And that's kind of what's going on with some of the supplies being sold at the store. The cleaning products, like, if you would have just stocked up a little along the way with the Clorox wipes, for example, bought one a week or something and had a nice collection down in your basement, then you would be set for this necessary time to have all sorts of disinfecting products. But now, everybody needs them, and they are not readily available. But if you do have the power to work hard to prepare for something, you should do that versus wasting your time kind of like Grasshopper did. All right. So I'm hoping you can find the moral in that story. I'm hoping those proverbs made a little bit of sense to you. But again, come back to that question as we read each of these stories. What do our economic choices tell us about ourselves? So our choices, like in The Ant and the Grasshopper, the grasshopper's choice showed that he was not very prepared, that I don't want to say selfish isn't the right word. He just wasn't thinking about the future. He was very much in the moment and just worried about enjoying himself. He wasn't worried about being prepared for the future if he would have food or not. Where the ants, on the other hand, were very busy, very hardworking, and they were prepared, and they were thinking about the future, and they were choosing work before fun. So their choices tell me they know what they need to do, and they have a goal in mind, and it seems like Grasshopper's choice is all about just having fun and being in the moment. Okay, so we'll stop there for today, and then we'll pick up on more reading tomorrow.